Hello everyone, welcome again to online session of Manolaw classes. I'm Dinesh Kumar and I'm former assistant professor of law at Campus Law Center, Law Faculty, Delhi University, and presently I'm working as an academic head of Manolaw classes. So my dear students, today I will discuss with you one of the landmark judgment, that is in the case of Vishakha and others versus State of Rajasthan. This case was decided by Honorable Supreme Court on 13th August 1997. But before moving forward, there is an important announcement for all of you. Admissions are open at Manolaw classes for upcoming batch of 2022 and 2023 for the various law entrance examination. All of you may get yourself enrolled with us for getting the best result. And for more information, you can dial the given number on screen, that is 9971444054. We at Manolaw classes are also providing 15 days free trial to all the aspirants of law entrance examination. And in these 15 days free trial, you will get the following benefits. Number 1, you will get the live classes with one-to-one interaction. Second, you will get the recorded conceptual lectures on various topics. You will get various topic tests as well as various sectional tests. And at last, we will provide you the analysis of your performance, and this analysis will be done by our team of experts. For availing the benefit of this facility, you need to do the following activity. Number 1, first of all, you should find the link in the description below. Then you should locate sign up for 15 days free trial. Then you should fill the form available there, and then you will be eligible to get the benefit of this facility. So in today's decision, in the case of Vishakha and others versus State of Rajasthan, I will discuss following legal and constitutional provisions with you. And basically, this case is related to the sexual harassment of a woman at workplace. So all these provisions are relevant in this regard. For example, Article 14 provides for the equality before law and equal protection of laws. It means that there will not be any discrimination against any person on any ground. So this means all the person will be equal in the eyes of law. But how this article is relevant here? If a woman is getting sexual harassment at the workplace, it means that she is discriminated and it amounts to the violation of her fundamental right under Article 14 of the Constitution of India. Second, Article 15 expressly prohibits the discrimination on the ground of sex. So since she is a female and if she is being harassed at the workplace, then it would amount to the discrimination on the basis of sex against a woman. So her right under Article 15 will also be violated. Now we come to Article 19. Article 19 of the Constitution of India, specifically Article 19(1) subclause G of Constitution of India, provides that every citizen of India will have the right to do any business, any profession or any occupation of his choice. But in this case, if a woman wants to do the job of her choice and she is sexually harassed there, then her right to do any business, occupation or profession is also violated under Article 19 of the Constitution of India. Next, Article 21 provides for the right to life and personal liberty. So if any sexual harassment takes place against a woman against her will, then it also amounts to the violation of her right to personal liberty. So on these grounds, all these articles are relevant for the purpose of discussion of this particular case, that is Vishakha and others versus State of Rajasthan. Now, two articles of Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women are also relevant here, and according to Article 11 of this convention, state parties shall take all appropriate measures to eliminate discrimination against women in the field of employment. So this article provides that the state parties must take all the appropriate measures to prevent the discrimination against the women in cases of employment. Now we come to Article 24. Article 24 provides that state parties undertake to adopt all necessary measures at the national level aimed at achieving full realization of the right recognized in the present convention. So it is by virtue of Article 24 of this convention, it is the duty of all the members of this convention that all these members must take all the appropriate measures so that the provisions of this conventions must be fully realized, and whatever rights have been given by this convention to the women, these rights must be fulfilled, and these rights must be given in actual sense to the women. So now we comes to the facts of this case. In this case, the victim was a lady. I am not disclosing the name of the victim because of section 428A of IPC. She was from Rajasthan and she started working under the Women's Development Project. That project was run by the government of Rajasthan. Now, so she started working in 1985, but in 1992 she also took up a campaign against child marriage. And this campaign was against child marriage, means she was spreading awareness amongst the various people of the Rajasthan that they should not marry their child. Okay? Child marriage is a social evil and it should be prohibited, and it is also against the law. Now what happened? The family of accused, so this Ram Karan is also an accused in this case. So family of Ram Karan and some other person tried to solemnize the marriage of his minor daughter. When this fact came to the knowledge of this victim lady, then she tried to convince the family that they should not solemnize the marriage of this minor girl. It is against the law. But when this family did not stop the marriage, despite the convincing of this victim lady, then on 5th May 1992, sub-divisional officer and the DSP of police went to the spot and they stopped the said marriage. So when this SDO and Deputy Superintendent of Police stopped the marriage, but what was happened subsequently? This family performed the marriage or solemnized the marriage next day. So police went there and they stopped the marriage, but this marriage was solemnized by the concerned family on next day. After some time, this fact was disclosed that the police came to the function of marriage because of this lady. Now all the accused persons, so there are 5 accused persons, namely this Ramsukh, Gyarsa, Ramkaran, Badri and one Shravan. So all these 5 accused attacked the husband of victim and they brutally gang raped the victim. In the revenge that the marriage of the daughter of one of the accused was stopped by this victim. Now when she was gang raped by all those persons or all those accused persons, then the police also did not fairly investigate the matter, and police tried to delay in the matter or delay in the investigation. So the matter was deferred for 52 hours, considering the fact that if the investigation will take place after 52 hours, then there will not be evidence of rape against the victim, and it will help the accused persons to get the acquittal from the court. So because of the delay or because of the mistake on the part of this police and with the support of the local MLA of this particular area, all the 5 accused got acquittal in this case. So when all the 5 accused got acquittal in this case, then the various organizations of the country raised the voice against their acquittal. So one organization, namely Vishakha. Vishakha is an organization which renders services in the for the protection of the woman or for the welfare of the woman. Then this organization Vishakha filed a PIL. PIL means public interest litigation against the acquittal of all these 5 accused persons, and on the ground that sexual harassment of a woman at workplace amount to the violation of her fundamental right under Article 14, 15, 19 and 21 of the Constitution of India, and there is a need to prevent the sexual harassment at workplace of a woman. So when this PIL was filed in the Honorable Supreme Court, then there were following 3 issues before Honorable Supreme Court, and the issue number 1 was that whether former guidelines are required to deal with the incident involving sexual harassment at workplace. Means at that point of time there was no formal guidelines from the Supreme Court or from any other court regarding the prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. So this was one of the issue before Honorable Supreme Court, that whether formal guidelines are required to prevent the sexual harassment of a woman at workplace. Second, whether sexual harassment at workplace amount to the violations of the fundamental right of a woman. And third, whether the employer has any responsibility in the case of sexual harassment by its employee or against its employee at his workplace. So these 3 issues were before Honorable Supreme Court. Now in this case there were no rival parties, so there were no contentions in this case, and there were 2 parties. One was the organization Vishakha and the other party was state. So this Vishakha organization contended that the sexual harassment of a woman at workplace violates her fundamental right under various articles, and this fact was also supported by the state, means the Advocate General of the state, who argued the case on the behalf of the state. So with the help of the various amicus curiae in this case, Honorable Supreme Court framed the various guidelines, and the decision of the Honorable Supreme Court gave the following decision. Now the first point of the decision was, the court held that the sexual harassment at workplace was in the violation of the fundamental right guaranteed under Article 14, 15, 19, 1G and 21 of the Constitution of India. So Honorable Supreme Court held that if a woman is sexually harassed at workplace, then her fundamental rights given under Article 14, 15, 19, 1G and 21 of the Constitution of India are violated. So Honorable Supreme Court recognized this fact that the sexual harassment at workplace is against the fundamental right of a woman. Second, Honorable Supreme Court defined the term sexual harassment as follows, means sexual harassment is an unwelcome sexually determined behavior, and this behavior may be directly or indirectly, like physical contact and advances, a demand or request for sexual favor, sexually colored remark, showing pornography or any other unwelcome physical, verbal or non-verbal conduct of a sexual nature. So before the guidelines of this case, we were not having any definition of sexual harassment in our law. So this definition was given by Honorable Supreme Court of sexual harassment in this particular case. Now Honorable Supreme Court also recognized or acknowledged this fact that there is a lack of adequate legislation and loopholes, and because of which such heinous crime take place in the society. So this fact was also recognized by Honorable Supreme Court, that we don't have the adequate legislation and we don't have the good law in this regard. So because of this reason, women are sexually harassed at workplace. Next, basically earlier all the matter relating to sexual harassments were covered under section 354 of IPC. So this section 354 of IPC deals with the outraging the modesty of a woman. So it was not specifically dealing the matter relating to sexual harassment. Rather, it was dealing with the outraging the modesty of a woman, and the punishment in this case is comparatively less than the matter of sexual harassment. So, Honorable Supreme Court also take the reference of Article 11 and Article 24 of the Conventions of Eliminations of All Form of Discrimination Against Women, and this court reiterated the fact that it is the duty of the parties of the this convention that they must take appropriate measures to prevent the sexual harassment of a woman at workplace. Honorable Supreme Court, by citing or by giving reference to these articles, also held that the gender equality include the protection from sexual harassment and the right to work with dignity, which is universally recognized basic human right. And inference of this fact can be drawn from Article 14 of the Constitution of India. So, Article 14 of the Constitution of India also ensure the gender equality. And when a woman is sexually harassed at a workplace, then it means that there is a discrimination on the basis of gender against that woman. It means the fundamental right of the woman has been violated, and she has the right to approach directly to Honorable Supreme Court by virtue of Article 32 of the Constitution of India, and she has the right to seek the compensation under this article as well. Now, Honorable Court also noted that it was discriminatory when a woman has reasonable grounds to believe that objecting to sexual harassment would disadvantage her in her employment in terms of recruiting, promotion and creation of hostile work environment. So basically problem is that if a woman is working in any organization and she is sexually harassed in that organization, then because of the disadvantage in the recruitment or promotion or any other work condition, most of the matter of sexually harassed at the workplace are not reported. So Honorable Supreme Court shows its concern on this aspect as well, that first of all there should not be any sexual harassment of a woman at workplace. Secondly, Honorable Supreme Court also recognized this fact that this kind of fear must not exist in the mind of the victim, that she would suffer disadvantage in the recruitment, promotion or other working condition of that woman. Honorable Supreme Court in this case gave the following guidelines, and number 1, Honorable Supreme Court held that employer should take preventive measures to prevent the sexual harassment at workplace. So it is the duty of the employer to prevent the sexual harassment of any woman at his workplace or in the organization. Now, and employer should also provide healthy work condition in the term of hygiene, comfort and health of every individual and including the woman. Now next, if there is an incident of sexual harassment at workplace, then the disciplinary action must be taken against such person who is responsible for sexual harassment at workplace. Next, if the offense committed fall, means if any offense regarding the sexual harassment of a woman at workplace has been committed, then and this offense fall under the provisions of IPC, then employer must take action against the such person who is responsible for sexual harassment in accordance to the provision of IPC, and any lenient action should not be taken against such person. Rather, strict action according to the provisions of IPC must be taken against the person who is responsible for sexual harassment of a woman at workplace. Next, an organization should have a redressal committee. So Honorable Supreme Court in its guideline held that it is the responsibility of every organization where the women are working, that they must have a redressal committee to prevent the sexual harassment at workplace, and more than half of the member of that committee must be women, and this committee should also be headed by the women only, because since it is the matter relating to the woman, so most of the members of this committee should also be a woman. Next, a report must also be sent by the government regarding the action taken by the committee in the case of sexual harassment of a woman at workplace. Next, proper measures should be taken to spread the awareness regarding the action taken against the person who is responsible for sexual harassment at workplace. And because if the general public will be aware about these guidelines, that if any woman suffer any sexual harassment at workplace, then she has the remedy against that act. So this awareness should be spread amongst the public or amongst the women regarding such committee or such actions which can be taken against the person who is responsible for sexual harassment. So considering this fact, Parliament enacted a law, that is the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. And now this term sexual harassment has also been given a definition. So this definition of sexual harassment of workplace, this sexual harassment was given by the Criminal Law Amendment 2013 on the basis of Justice Verma Committee. Next, it is important to note that though such comprehensive law have been enacted safeguard against a woman, so basically right now we are having comprehensive law regarding the prevention of any offense against the woman, including the sexual harassment, but still there are so many cases of sexual harassment of a woman at workplace, and it is the responsibility of everyone to ensure women's safety and dignity even if legislation do not exist. So we as a human being must think that even if there is no legislation regarding the prevention of offenses including the sexual harassment of a woman at workplace, but all of us must behave in a responsible manner and we must prevent the sexual harassment of a woman at workplace. We should behave with a woman with dignity. So that's all for today, my dear students. I will come again with the next landmark judgment of Honorable Supreme Court. Till then, please take care of yourself. Thank you. Goodbye.